It started like any other summer afternoon, clear skies, a quiet suburban neighborhood, and the soft splash of water from a private backyard pool. But what happened next wasn't your usual poolside story. A black homeowner, proud of the space he worked hard for, found himself face to face with a woman who decided the pool wasn't his to enjoy. She wasn't a stranger to drama. Either neighbors knew her by a nickname that said it all: Karen. And this time, she took things too far. She strutted in with a kind of entitlement that made everyone uncomfortable. Hell, no invitation, no permission, just straight into his yard, claiming she had every right to be there. Her words were sharp, her tone disrespectful, and it was clear her actions weren't just about a pool. It was about power, about control, and most of all, about who she thought deserved to live in that neighborhood. But what she didn't count on was that this time, the man she was targeting wasn't going to back down quietly. He kept calm at first, not wanting to escalate things. But after multiple incidents, after being ignored, talked down to, and treated like he was the one trespassing on his own property, he'd had enough. Instead of lashing out, though, he flipped the script in a way no one saw coming. And what he did next turned heads, shifted opinions, and made even the nosiest neighbors stop and think. This wasn't just about a pool anymore. It was about standing up without sinking to someone else's level. It was about setting boundaries, holding ground, and doing it with dignity. What happened after left the whole block buzzing. And trust me, you'll want to see how this story unfolds, because the moment she realized she messed with the wrong one, everything changed. It wasn't the first time she'd crossed the line. A few weeks before, she had already made snide comments when he was out front mowing his lawn, saying things like, "Oh, you must be the new gardener." He'd laughed it off then, not wanting to cause a scene. But deep down, it stung. Still, he tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was just rude to everyone. Maybe it wasn't personal. But that idea vanished the day she let herself into his backyard while his nieces were swimming, yelling about unauthorized guests and threatening to call the HOA. The nerve. He had lived in that house for almost 2 years, paid his dues, followed every HOA rule, even the petty ones about mailbox paint color and trash bin placements. But no matter how polite or respectful he was, she always found a reason to treat him like he didn't belong. He had filed a quiet complaint once, hoping the HOA would handle it professionally. They gave her a warning, but it didn't stop her. If anything, she doubled down. One afternoon, he caught her taking pictures of his backyard from the sidewalk. Another time, she left a note taped to his door, suggesting he rent the house to someone more fitting for the neighborhood. Still, he never lost his temper. Instead, he began planning, watching, waiting for the right moment. He installed security cameras, collected every incident. Neighbors started noticing too. Some even apologized for not speaking up sooner. They'd seen her antics, but didn't want to get involved. But now, it wasn't just about one man being harassed. It was becoming clear this was something bigger, about bias, about boundaries, and about what happens when one person refuses to be pushed around any longer. And that moment of reckoning, it was coming soon. The conflict reached a boiling point. The day she showed up with 2 friends and lawn chairs, like she was hosting her own private pool party on his property. He was stunned. They walked in like it was theirs, ignoring him completely, tossing towels over the chairs he'd bought and laying out snacks on the table near the pool. One of them even turned on the Bluetooth speaker. No apology, no explanation. Just entitlement in broad daylight. And the worst part? When he calmly asked them to leave, she laughed and said, "You should be thanking us for making this place look good." That moment triggered something in him. Not anger, he'd already felt enough of that, but focus. The cameras caught every word, every action. He called the police, not to escalate, but to finally document what was happening. And as expected, When they arrived, Karen flipped the script like she always did tears. Accusations, playing the victim. "He's harassing us," she cried. "We're just trying to enjoy the neighborhood amenities." She actually said that, as if his backyard pool was a public park. But this time, the footage told the truth. The officer watched it. And while no arrests were made that day, her story began to unravel. Word spread fast around the neighborhood. A few residents who used to silently support her now felt uneasy. One neighbor, a quiet older woman named Denise, came over later that week and shared her own story. Karen had once accused her grandson of stealing a bike just because he walked by her yard. Another neighbor, an interracial couple, said they'd stopped coming to HOA meetings because of the way Karen treated them. These moments formed a pattern. It wasn't just about the pool. It was about control, intimidation, and pushing people out who didn't fit her idea of normal. The tension in the neighborhood was growing. People were choosing sides. And as he gathered more stories, more proof, and more support, one thing was clear: Karen's reign of fear was being challenged. But the battle wasn't over yet. The next few days felt like something out of a slow-burning movie. Every time he stepped outside, it felt like eyes were watching. Karen had started pacing the sidewalk in front of his house more often. Phone in hand, sometimes pretending to talk, sometimes taking pictures. The tension wasn't just between them anymore, it had seeped into the entire block. Some neighbors kept their distance. Others would nod, offer quiet words of support, but still avoided getting fully involved. It was as if the whole neighborhood was holding its breath, waiting for the next spark. Behind the scenes, he kept building his case. The security footage, the notes, the fake complaints she filed with the HOA, everything was organized in a folder. Ready? He didn't want revenge. He wanted accountability. Fairness, to stop feeling like a guest in his own home. The final push came when the HOA suddenly sent him a formal notice. According to them, his pool violated community use policies, and he had multiple complaints of noise, improper use, and disorderly behavior. It didn't take a genius to figure out where that was coming from. That letter lit a fire in him. Not just because of the lies, but because it showed how deep her influence ran. She wasn't just harassing him. She was trying to weaponize the system against him. He knew if he stayed quiet, she'd win. But if he pushed back wrong, she'd twist it all over again. So he decided to take a different route, one that no one expected. He invited the HOA board members, a few neighbors, and even a local reporter to his house for a simple poolside chat. People showed up, some out of curiosity, some because they finally wanted answers. Karen saw them gathering from across the street, and she came marching over. That moment, with everyone watching, was when it all reached a boiling point. You could feel it in the air. Something was about to shift, and no one knew exactly how it would end. As Karen stormed across the street, arms flailing and voice already raised, the crowd around the pool fell silent. Everyone could feel the tension, crackling like static. She pointed at the reporter first, demanding to know why outsiders were being dragged into private HOA matters. Then she turned to the board members, accusing them of betrayal for even entertaining what she called a petty neighbor's pity party. But before she could launch into another rant, he calmly stepped forward, holding up his phone. "Let's not make this about feelings," he said, tapping the screen. "Let's talk facts." He cast the footage from his security system onto the TV near the patio. Video after video showed her walking onto his property, recording his, berating his guests, even yelling at a group of kids. Her voice, sharp and condescending, filled the air. It was undeniable. The crowd watched in stunned silence. But just as people began murmuring, clearly shocked by what they were seeing, Karen did something no one expected. She smiled. She pulled out her own phone and said, "You really think this is going to work against me?" Then she revealed her own evidence, a handful of choppy videos edited to make it look like he was the one being aggressive. Loud music, moments taken out of context. Even a clip where he looked like he was shouting, but only because the audio was cut before the rest of his words played. "You harassed me," she said confidently. "I have the proof, too." Suddenly, the entire narrative was thrown into confusion. The HOA board looked stunned. The neighbors, once sympathetic, seemed unsure again. The lines between truth and lies were blurring fast. The stakes had never been higher, because now it wasn't just about harassment or a pool. It was a battle over perception, trust, and reputation. And with both sides claiming to hold the truth, only one would walk away, with the neighborhood on their side. Everyone stood frozen for a beat caught between two versions of the same story. Karen, smug and sure of herself, waved her phone like it was a trophy. But what she didn't realize was that her own arrogance had finally crossed a line she couldn't walk back from. The local reporter stepped forward and calmly asked if she could review both sets of videos. Karen laughed, rolled her eyes, and said, "Sure, I've got nothing to hide." That was her mistake. The reporter, who'd seen this kind of thing before, asked to see the full video files on her phone, not the edited ones. Karen hesitated, then stammered, then claimed her battery was low, but it was too late. The damage was done. The HOA president, who had mostly stayed neutral till now, stepped up and asked a simple question. If the full truth is on your phone, why not show it now? That's when things turned. The man calmly offered to air his unedited footage again, this time with timestamps and audio all intact. As the clips played, it became impossible to deny what was really happening. Karen's voice, over and over, full of insults, threats, and entitlement. Her edits had removed everything before and after key moments, but the originals exposed everything. The silence that followed was heavy. Her friends slipped away. The neighbors avoided her eyes. The HOA board exchanged looks, and for the first time, one of them openly apologized to the man. Then came the twist no one expected. The quiet neighbor, Denise, who had watched everything from her lawn chair, stepped up with a flash drive. She'd been recording her own security footage for months after Karen accused her grandson of trespassing. Her videos matched his. They filled in even more blanks. The truth wasn't just undeniable, was now undeniable from multiple sources. Karen turned pale. She muttered something about hiring a lawyer and stormed off. But the damage was done. The lies, the manipulation, it all collapsed under the weight of truth. And in that moment, the man didn't need to say a single word. His dignity, his patience, and his proof said it all. In the days that followed, the neighborhood felt different, lighter, more open. People who had once kept their heads down now stopped to say hello when they passed by. The HOA board quietly retracted the complaints against him and issued a formal apology. One member even admitted they had relied too heavily on hearsay without reviewing the full facts. The man didn't gloat, didn't rub it in. He just smiled, nodded, and kept living his life. The same way he had all along. Karen, on the other hand, became a ghost. Her front yard, once perfectly trimmed and always watched from the porch, grew wild with weeds. The lawn chairs disappeared. Her voice, once so loud in neighborhood meetings and online threads, was silent. Some said she moved away. Others said she was still there, just keeping to herself. Either way, the grip she had on the block was gone. Denise became something of a quiet hero in the community. Her flash drive had sealed the truth, but it was her courage to speak up that inspired others. A few neighbors began organizing monthly gatherings, small things, like barbecues and movie nights, hoping to rebuild trust and community. And at the center of it all was the man who never raised his voice, never fought fire with fire, but stood firm in the face of hate. This wasn't just a story about a backyard pool. It was about boundaries, resilience, and how quiet strength can outlast even the loudest noise. It reminded everyone that dignity holds power, and the truth always finds its way to the surface. The neighborhood had learned a lesson it wouldn't forget anytime soon. Respect isn't earned through fear, built through action, honesty, and standing up for what's right.